Hi, this is Sophie, Simon and Ben from That Final Scene.
Yeah, we just want to give a quick shout out to our friends at Amazon Music where you can find this very podcast.
So, let's dive in, shall we?
I said it before and I'll say it again.
That scene, that last scene.
What does it mean?
I'm the dude, you know?
Get the fuck out of here. No, I cannot. That final scene starts now.
Hi. We're back with another episode of That Final Scene. How's it going?
Good. You asked me that question the minute I took a drink of something.
Ben, we rehearsed that question just a minute ago.
Inappropriately timed.
For those joining for the very first time, I am your to-be favorite host.
Oh, wow. That's a bit of a flex off the bat.
Yes. And I
Why is that? Well, actually, you have provided some good food.
Yeah.
That is true.
Oh, like a literal host. Yeah. I meant like a podcast host. But how are you guys doing?
It's only been like 6 days since we last recorded, so I really don't have that much to update you with.
We had a pretty quick turnaround, didn't we? Yeah.
I didn't get to watch Wakanda Forever. Did you guys?
I haven't had a chance to go. I've watched it.
I thought I was going to be the only one.
No. I thought you were going to because people were like, because our last episode was Black Panther, and we had a few people at least DM me be like, oh, we're waiting for your review on Wakanda Forever, like the next episode. No. And we're like, yeah, it's coming. It's on its way. It's on its way.
You'll get it eventually when it comes to Disney
I'll
Plus.
get it on the Blu-ray.
Yeah,
that is true.
Well,
like
these
days, it's gonna come out in like 2 weeks. Probably.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. But I would say by Christmas it could be on Disney Plus, especially with Bob Iger's back. You know.
Oh yeah.
Big Bad Bob's back at Disney now, so
it'll
be up there.
Major bombshell. By the way.
Yeah, that's pretty huge that he's back.
Yeah. Going back to streaming services and everything, because I'm still like not watching as much stuff as I used to probably a year ago. But when it comes to cinema specifically, because the weather has been so bad here in the UK, I actually am just like, oh, do I really want to go to the cinema? Like on a Sunday evening, I could just cozy up on the couch and just watch whatever, the Bake Off instead.
Well, I'm really annoyed at myself that I still haven't seen The Banshees of Inisherin, which I want to see it before it leaves the cinema. I really want to see it before it leaves the cinema.
Is it still playing?
I think so. Yeah, I think it's still, because it's only been out for like 3 weeks maybe. So, but it will probably go because I feel like there's another wave of movies now about to come as soon as we get into December. So I need to see it before it goes.
Same. I have a feeling it's one of those titles that's going to end up in Prime Video for some reason.
Yes.
Because I feel like Netflix has had a lot of Oscar frontrunners already, like Knives Out, The Wonder, a bunch of other that are coming out. And I feel like Prime hasn't really had an Oscar contender so far, or like an original one. So I could see them snapping that one for, Colin Farrell, potentially. He's been rumored to be nominated for an Oscar.
There's a bit of, there's quite a bit of buzz around, isn't there, for like original screenplay and director as well.
Yeah, screenplay. Yeah. So I could see that ending up on Prime quite quickly.
I'd love Colin Farrell to get an Oscar nomination.
Yeah, he doesn't have one.
I don't think so. No, not to my knowledge. I mean, he's obviously been on quite a roll for the last like couple of years, ever since he started doing like the Yorgos Lanthimos movies, like The Lobster and stuff like that, and was killing it, The Sacred Deer, and he was great. I thought he was great as the Penguin and Batman. He's obviously doing that series now. He's done a lot, like compared to when we go back to like back in the day where he was Alexander the Great, and he was in the Miami Vice movie with Jamie Foxx and stuff. He's definitely he's kind of turned it around now, and
I think he's consistently great. Colin Farrell. Like, I don't think I've ever seen him. I'm not saying all of his movies have been great.
Pride and Prejudice.
No.
Was he in Pride and Prejudice?
Was he?
No.
Oh wait, no, I'm thinking of Colin.
You're thinking of Colin Firth. Very different. Very different
Very
actors.
different energy vibe. Like the masculinity vibes. Very different.
He kind of got swept up in a lot of that, like that early noughties kind of like, because he was like a bit of, he was a bad boy and kind of stuff like that, and like, he was in Daredevil. Remember, he was Bullseye in Daredevil.
He was it. Oh
with Ben Affleck.
I forgot about that role.
And he's doing a lot more, not necessarily like a lot more serious stuff, but I think he's like, I definitely feel like he's choosing his roles a lot better than just being like
on Wikipedia. There's a section in his personal life. First one is drug addiction, then it's sex tape, then it's stalker.
Yeah,
what?
He's
that's pretty.
No.
He's had some life.
Is that a rumor?
Was
he convicted for like
in July 2006 as Farrell was being interviewed on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno? A telephone sex worker evaded security, walked on stage, confronted Farrell, and threw a self-published book-length expose on him on Jay Leno's desk.
Wow, okay, that's intense.
Oh, so he had the stalker. Not that he was a stalker.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh my God. I mean, I feel like every
I
celebrity
feel like
has
if Colin
had a
Farrell was
stalker.
stalking someone, though, you'd know. Like, I feel like that's bigger news.
As Farrell escorted her off stage and handed her over to NBC security, she shouted, "I'll see you in court." After being held by police in Burbank, California, Bradford was released.
Wow.
Damn.
Damn.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I really want to see The Banshees of Inisherin,
Yeah.
and hopefully he does well.
Yeah.
And obviously Brendan Gleeson's in
Yeah.
it as well, and Brendan Gleeson is just
Love him.
fantastic.
Love him. Yeah.
I just wish he was like my granddad.
Yeah.
You know, he's just that like, he just seems so nice. Whenever I see him in interviews, he always seems lovely.
Have you watched anything since we last saw each other? Besides The Social Network.
Besides The Social Network, I was saying earlier, I watched Beverly Hills Cop as like an appetite cleanser after watching The Social Network. I did
A sorbet.
I did a
Dessert.
double bill on Friday night, yeah. And yeah, Beverly Hills Cop cleansed me
How
after
did you
that.
sleep after the excitement of Beverly Hills Cop? Surely you needed something to wind down after that.
Oh, I think I was up for like another hour or something like that after that, just winding down.
How
yeah.
long is,
Getting off the Eddie Murphy high.
How long is the film?
It's about an hour and a half, hour and
Yeah,
45.
it's not like
Probably
a
the
two-
perfect length.
It's like it's a
perfect
very
length.
it's a very solid thing. Which I
Nice.
forgot about The Social Network as well. The Social Network is not as long as I remember it being. But so yeah, I watched Beverly Hills Cop. I'd forgotten before when we did the last recording. I forgot to mention I had rewatched Bohemian Rhapsody recently because I just wanted like we just wanted a feel good movie to watch on like a Saturday. So I ended up watching Bohemian Rhapsody.
Apart
Excuse
from
me.
the
Thoughts
death of
on-
AIDS towards the end.
Yes. Exactly, it does get quite sad towards the end. But then again, you know, we get to watch Live Aid, so it's great,
true.
and you get to see somebody playing Bob Geldof, which is hilarious.
Thoughts on the sound editing and the mixing? That
I mean,
got a
the
lot of-
editing's horrendous. That's
Yeah.
that whiplash scene where there's 30 cuts or something, over 30 cuts in the space of like 3 minutes is just absolutely terrible. But I really enjoy the film in general.
Yeah,
I think
same.
I think it's great. I mean, it's a great film. I don't necessarily know how like Oscar worthy it was. I do think it was quite good. I don't necessarily know. I don't think every biopic now is like, well, you do a biopic about a famous musician and you're guaranteed like an Oscar
Right.
nomination and the movie's guaranteed like Oscar. Because didn't everybody get annoyed after that the guy who played Taron Egerton didn't get a nomination for Elton John and stuff? And I think there's almost like a precedent set now that you know. You go and I'll do in like 10 years time I'll play Bono and then I'll just get an Oscar nomination because that's what has to happen.
And generally
But-
biopics, which I find very uninspiring in a way.
Yeah.
It gives you like a fast track access to getting an Oscar nomination just because you play
Yeah.
an actual person.
But and we started watching The Crown as well, which
Okay.
I have to say. So I know you talked about Elizabeth Debicki and some of the performances in it. I'm not sure on Imelda Staunton as the Queen still. We're like
Same.
2 or 3
I'm not
episodes
sure-
in.
I'm not
and
sure. I think, yeah.
it is weird because they start the season off with that throwback to Claire Foy and the Britannia yacht and-
Mixing the actors.
yeah,
phenomenal.
and she's brilliant. And like
Yeah.
Claire Foy is of the 3 that have played the Queen. Claire Foy is definitely the best. And so to start it off and then to go into Imelda Staunton, who's like very different, is I don't know, it just doesn't really feel that right. And Elizabeth Debicki's one, I mean, I actually kind of like her as Diana because I get that it feels like it's a very like restrained performance. But I think if you look at the context of the show and like Diana's life then, like, you know, giving these tapes to that journalist and stuff like that, she herself was leading a very restrained life. So I think I actually kind of like it in that she's quite, you know, restricted in a way. The problem the show has is that when you have like 3 different sets of actors playing the same characters over 6 seasons, it's hard to not be like, oh well, that person was better.
And I feel like Jonathan Pryce kind of plays Jonathan Pryce. In the
Yeah.
I don't really see the actual performance come through as natural. It's more like, oh, I can see that this is acting in a way.
Yeah,
With him.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm gonna finish it for sure. I think right now I'm on episode 4 or 5. But
Yeah.
how do you find the season overall? Like I find it a bit slow, or I'm just not really.
Yeah, it's
following.
very slow and it's kind of like they're struggling for drama. I think it like, you know, kind of
What
feels like
decade are they in?
they're in the early 90s now. So I think it's like 92, like it's like 92, 93 this season. So this season runs from
So like John Major's Prime Minister.
yeah, exactly. So you know Johnny Lee Miller from Trainspotting. He played Sherlock Holmes in
He
Elementary.
used to be married to Angelina Jolie for like 3 days, probably. First husband.
He played Sick Boy in Trainspotting, and he's playing John Major in it. So actually, I
The
think
wig
that's
acting.
yeah. Oh God, Simon, you'll love. Honestly, the wigs.
The wig
But doesn't
acting.
John Major have just like white?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. And
that's
Johnny
the
Lee
thing.
Miller doesn't have white hair,
Okay.
but honestly, you'd never know.
That's
the
a
wigs
Hallow-
are that good.
That's a Halloween wig. Like,
Yeah, it's a Michael Myers style wig.
Comb over.
Yeah, literally. And he's got the big square glasses as well.
Yeah, it's like Netflix came in for season 5. They're like, we're cutting the budget, you guys.
Yeah. No more budgets on sets, but the budgets on wigs is 10 times bigger. But yeah, so he's in it so Johnny Lee Miller's in it as John Major. So it's that era, and I think it runs up to 97, just after I think Charles and Diana's divorce.
And then the cliffhanger.
The cliffhanger will be, I think the cliffhanger is like just before Diana dies, and then season 6, the start of the season, will deal with all of that, and then it'll kind of, I think that's going to then wrap it up into like modern times.
Have they mentioned how they're planning on, I mean, I don't know if you've heard of it, but like how they're planning to actually end or when?
I think the next season's going to go into like the mid kind of...
But just keep
like,
going.
Well, they could just keep going, but they're not going to. Like they've said, the guy who's created it says season 6 is the end. He had initially planned it to be 6 seasons, then it was just going to be 5.
Gets into too many legal grey areas if he gets too current.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah. And I think the thing is, like, it is kind of, it feels like it's run its course now. You know, it's kind of like, okay.
Yeah.
We've had like almost 6 seasons of it now and just leave it lie.
Plus, I feel like everyone would know that Netflix would be super favorable towards Meghan Markle and
do you know
Prince
what?
Harry,
I think it
because
is.
they have a deal with them. You know, like they're basically paying them
What
to
is
produce.
their deal? What are they actually making?
Meghan Markle was supposed to be make some sort of animated series or whatever, but it got canned because, again, Netflix is cutting costs. And I think with Prince Harry, they had a documentary.
And they have like their own podcast company and stuff.
Yeah,
but is that to do with Netflix?
That
was Spotify. But with Netflix, they had like a separate deal, like similar to the Obamas.
What about you, Zoe? What have you been watching?
I watched Coco on Sunday.
Nice, another big
You guys
series.
My recommendation.
Yay.
Did you recommend it?
Yeah, I said
I'm
Coco on the
sorry.
last episode, didn't I? Isn't it? That ending is incredibly upsetting.
Yeah, it's like the Blub engineers at Pixar. Like
They turned it into a
frenzy. Yeah.
And you, Sophie, anything else?
I also did a double bill with The Social Network.
Was it as good as my double bill, though?
No, definitely not. All the Money in the World. Have you seen that film?
Oh, the one that was supposed to be Kevin Spacey.
Yes. So
interesting.
Yes. So
Interesting double bill.
I'd seen it before, but I watched it for 2 reasons. Well, one, I was with Michael, and he was like, "Oh my god, you need to watch this film because we're talking like billionaires, like corruption, like it's the perfect kind of."
He said this to you, and were you just like, "Bitch, I've already seen the film."
I actually, well, that's the funny part. I was actually like, "Oh, I've heard of the film. Let's watch it." And then
were you lying just to spare his blushes?
No. But like 5 minutes in, I realized.
Have you ever done that? Have you ever pretended to have not seen something to somebody
Of course,
else?
I haven't seen Titanic. Of course, so I'd love to watch it with you.
No, I've probably done the other way around. Like,
Okay.
probably just be like, "Oh yeah, tell you what's a film," but I haven't.
I've seen The Godfather 9.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah, Avatar 3 was it yesterday? So I think that's very telling about the film itself, because 5 minutes in, I'm like, oh my god, I've seen the film.
It's such a forgettable film.
It's a forgettable film, but at the same time, it's not a bad film. Like, it's weird because I actually enjoyed it, but I forgot that I actually
Would it have been a
watched
different film if they hadn't cut Spacey out of it entirely?
So that's the second reason I watched it, because I know.
When was he cut out?
So
basically, the entire film was finished, and then he had his whole lawsuit. And basically then they reshot all of his scenes with Christopher Plummer and cut him entirely out of the film.
And Christopher Plummer is incredible in that film, actually. He got a nomination for his performance. He was really, really good. But that's actually the second reason I watched the film after the Social Network, because after watching the film, I realized that this film is full of cancelable and cancel men. You have Kevin Spacey as an executive producer, Social Network.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh God, I didn't know that.
Scott Rudin, super problematic, like Hollywood producer. Again,
Armie
like,
Hammer.
Best friend with Harvey Weinstein. Armie Hammer twice.
Yeah. Yeah, because he's in the film. Yeah, twice.
And I was like, to your point, like as you said earlier, I need to cleanse my palate with something good that has happened in the movie world. I'm like, Ridley Scott. Christopher Plummer, Kevin Spacey out. This is the perfect film, like for that.
I mean, Ben cleansed with Eddie Murphy, which has its own set of issues.
I mean,
this is true.
Ben did it right. I went more hardcore.
At least mine was some light relief. Not the story of a kidnapping.
It's actually good.
Well, I mean, Beverly Hills Cop technically.
Yeah, it's like it's a very conventional, like Inside Man, kind of story.
I basically only watched Beverly Hills Cop for the Surge scene anyway. Which we have in our like intro and our different segments,
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here.
It's such a good scene. It's so real.
It's a very important bet. That guy's so fucking funny.
We need to play that clip for our listeners who haven't really seen that.
There is an Ahmed Foley. Ahmed Achwell Foley. So funny.
I'm fine. My name is Serge, and how can I help you?
Yeah, I'm looking for Miss Jenny Summers.
She's very busy today. Maybe you give me your name?
My name's Axel Foley.
And what it's pertaining?
I didn't understand what you said.
Pertaining, what it's meaning, regarding.
Oh, what's it regarding? I'm an old acquaintance of hers.
Donny? One moment. Donny, run and tell Miss Summers that Mr. Ahmed Foley is here to see...
Axel Foley. Axel.
Achwell?
Axel.
Foley is here to see her. These are old acquaintances. May I offer you something to drink? A wine, a cocktail, espresso?
No, I'm fine, thank you.
I'll make it myself right back there with a little lemon twist. It's good. You should try it.
No, I'm fine.
I see you look at this piece.
Yeah, I was wondering how much something like this went for.
$130,000.
Get the fuck out of here!
No, I cannot. It's serious because it's very important piece.
Have you ever sold one of these?
Sold it yesterday to a collector.
Get the fuck out of here!
Serious, I said it myself.
Apparently that scene was ad-libbed.
Doesn't surprise me.
There's loads of that scene was like, I think a lot of the film was like that actually.
Yeah.
And they were allowed to like mess about until they got something good.
Right.
I just think that guy's like the standout in it, I think.
I feel like we need to do the final scene at some point for that film.
We definitely should.
It's probably the most mentioned film after The Prestige. Up there with The Prestige is probably the most mentioned film in this podcast.
The two of the best films ever made.
Double bill.
There's a double bill.
Also, the soundtrack of Beverly Hills is ridiculous.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
Oh, look, a message from our sponsor.
G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it.
Nah, yo, hold my poodle. Hey, yo, what's up? Y'all got a problem? Y'all want some of this?
Without much further ado,
Here we go again.
Shall we move on to our community segment?
Let's do it.
I've been waiting for this one because
But it gets spicy.
It's spicy because
Kevin Spicy.
Yeah.
That was his profile on Grindr.
We're there.
Oh God.
Oh my God. Well, whether we love it or we hate it, well, I know we definitely hate it. Elon Musk is everywhere right now in the news, no matter where you turn on the internet. So we're pretty sure that somewhere down the line, probably in the next year or so, there's gonna be an Apple Music, film with an Elon Musk biopic, and we were like, who would be the ideal person or actor to play Elon Musk? So we asked you, and I mean, as always, you had some great recommendations. I think we should go with the top one first, because that was the one that was one of the most surprising one to me. Apparently, Kathy Bates.
That was my favorite.
Listen, I think she'd be great. Get the prosthetics in there. It'd be like, remember when Melissa McCarthy played Sean Spicer on SNL, I think she'd do a great job.
She would do a great job. And going back to the Space Karen meme, I can see her in like a blonde wig. It's really funny because it's actually the most liked response from Le Merchant 94. So hi there. Another popular one, Tommy Wiseau. I think
Tommy Wiseau could be fun. I would love to see the written, directed, and starring Elon Musk biopic with Tommy Wiseau, where he just writes it, he produces it, he is everything in it. I think that would be amazing.
Yeah, because it's the equivalent of Twitter right now, which is moderated, developed and produced by Elon Musk.
Yeah.
That's the
so
product
funny,
right now.
Write the theme tune, sing the theme tune. It'd be brilliant.
Kind of related to that, a couple of people said James Franco, but I'm not seeing that. I don't know where that came from.
I don't really get the James Franco one.
Because he hasn't really done any transformations, where we had a couple of people say Jared Leto, which I don't really see it. But I guess I get...
Someone with a false messiah complex, I feel like Leto can really channel that into his work and playing Elon Musk.
That is a great point. I hadn't considered that. So, yeah.
Someone who thinks they are God amongst men. I mean...
Leonardo DiCaprio, I guess, but also
in his dreams.
No. I feel like he's burned at this point. Charlize Theron, you remember Monster, right?
I thought that was a good comment.
Yeah, sit her the fuck up. I like that.
Jesse Plemons is an interesting one, I think. I think he could do it.
What about Jonah Hill or Jack Black?
I think Jack Black would be funny.
What is Jack Black up to these days?
He's in the new Mario movie. He plays Bowser in the new Mario movie. And he seems to just be in every one of these new Jumanji films.
I like to just think he's still composing music in The Holiday, sitting behind his piano.
School of Rock 54, yeah.
I still occasionally enjoy the scene from The Holiday where he's walking in Blockbusters and he proceeds to take Kate Winslet around Blockbuster and pick out DVDs and like do a little sing-song of the theme tune from each DVD. It's so cheesy.
It's very cheesy.
I love Jack Black.
I love his band too.
Tenacious D are great. I've seen them live twice. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, Tenacious D are still around, I think. I think they might actually be touring again soon.
Well, I would love to see them live.
They're so good. They're amazing.
We had a couple of others. I mean, Christian Bale, Jared Leto, DiCaprio. I feel like these are the classic picks. I'm not seeing them. I feel like you need someone with a more like unique face and almost like figure to just show up in Elon Musk.
I guess, I mean, Bale has the, like, when you think of, what was the movie where he played Dick Cheney? What was that one?
Vice.
Yeah.
He has the range.
He has the range and he'd be willing to put on a bit of weight and like wear loads of prosthetics, but he doesn't look it. I think somebody said Sam Rockwell, which I think would be quite cool. Like, I think Sam Rockwell would do a good job.
I could see that.
Ian McShane.
Bringing back our favorite Deadwood and
Lovejoy
actor. I mean, listen. If
maybe
he could play an older
probably in 20 years from now.
Maybe we could. Maybe they could do it like
jowly, isn't he?
Maybe they could do it. I mean, here's the movie. We basically remake A Christmas Carol where he's Elon is Ebenezer Scrooge, and he's visited by the ghost of Elon past, present, and future, and Elon future can be Ian McShane. Imagine if Elon just becomes Lovejoy.
I could see, because someone said Mary J2, hi there, Jesse Eisenberg, and I'm actually seeing that
he's too thin.
No, I'm thinking like a young Musk, because he was actually quite thin, like back in the day. But I'm seeing, and we're gonna talk about the social network, but there have been a lot of people that have said that actually Jesse Eisenberg doesn't really play Zuckerberg because Zuckerberg is not like that. Yeah. And that kind of like socially awkward programming genius. I mean, he was like really good, but he wasn't as socially awkward and incapable of having an actual conversation as he was portrayed. And I feel like Musk was much more like that, and he's much more like that in real life.
What about Matt Damon? Matt Damon could maybe do that.
I saw in the yeah, I saw that somewhere. Yeah,
that's probably the most accurate, I think.
Yeah, my pick would be Brendan Fraser. A couple of people said that. I could see that after seeing The Whale. I could see that totally.
Yeah, that would make sense. He's probably a bit too old though. That's the only problem. He's probably.
You think so?
I mean, if you want to play, I don't know actually. Maybe they're the same age. Ish. Who's going to play Grimes in the movie? That's the question.
Oh, that Grimes.
Grimes could play Grimes. Featuring Grimes as Grimes.
Rooney Mara would be amazing.
Yeah, who I forgot was in The Social Network.
Rooney Mara, is she the one that's in House of Cards?
No, that's Kate Mara. That's her sister.
Her sister.
Right, okay.
So Rooney Mara's she's in The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, isn't she?
Yeah.
So her family are like an acting dynasty type family.
Yeah, they're quite privileged. Very, very wealthy. Very, very wealthy. Yeah.
The Maras.
Oh, I know the Maras. I had them over last weekend.
You know the Maras. They live on Washington Avenue.
Yes. So funny.
Rooney's starring in the new Ridley Scott.
Oh, Ridders.
She's actually doing a film with Joaquin Phoenix, finally.
Is she?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
How do you say his name?
Joaquin.
I would say Joaquin.
Oh, well, wait.
I thought it was Joaquin or something. I don't know.
I think all of them are accurate depending on where you're from.
He was the baddie in Gladiator, right?
Yes, Commodus. Yeah, how he didn't win an Oscar for that.
They are together in real life, so it will be interesting to see them. Rooney Mara and Joaquin Phoenix.
Oh.
They're together, so it will be interesting to see them.
That's an interesting maybe community segment where you've had two performances in a film and one gets an award and one doesn't. The fact that Russell Crowe won an Oscar for Gladiator and Joaquin Phoenix didn't is kind of ridiculous considering Joaquin Phoenix.
Nominated?
I think he might have been nominated, but he didn't win. And yet his performance is better than Russell Crowe's in the film.
Yeah.
You know.
100%. Do we even have a date for next year? I haven't checked.
For the Oscars.
Yeah. Yeah, no one cares.
Simon, we've already said this. We're staying up and we're watching the ceremony together.
No one cares. No one cares.
Are they being good now? Are they letting foreign people win and stuff and females?
They're pretty bad still.
Okay, still.
Yeah.
I thought everyone had sort of said it was out of date.
One of my favorite woke things that the Oscars has done in recent years is that they changed the name of the category, like best foreign film to best international feature.
Best film with foreigners in. Oh, whoops. I mean, best international.
People with accent.
We need to give them something. What about we call it international film?
Oh, it's a bit racy, but I think I can live with it.
Okay. We'll take a short break and we'll be right back with The Social Network.
What's this?
It's a movie.
No!
Oh, I liked it.
No!
Can I say something?
No!
I don't get it.
What don't you get about it?
All right, we are back with the final segment of our podcast, the final scene. The Social Network, 2010, David Fincher, written by Aaron Sorkin, produced by Cancel Man.
So do you have a breakdown of the final scene, Sophie? Do you have a run through? Because I feel like,
Yes.
Simon, you need to get some of that amazing Trent Reznor score on this section of the podcast.
Oh, yeah, that's true, yeah. We have the plot as described by Columbia Pictures. I hate this one, but I have a good one.
Why do you always have a plot that you hate that you then read out?
Because I feel like we can have a conversation around that. But actually, I don't hate it. It's just like a non-plot. So, on a fall night in 2003, Harvard underground computer programming genius Mark Zuckerberg sits down at his computer and heatedly begins working on a new idea. In a fury of blogging and programming, what begins in his dorm room soon becomes a global social network and a revolution in communication. A mere 6 years later and 500 million friends later, Mark Zuckerberg is the youngest billionaire in history. But for this entrepreneur, success leads to both personal and legal complications. A lot of fluff. I like this one better, which is much more straightforward. As Harvard student Mark Zuckerberg creates the social network site that would become known as Facebook, he is sued by the twins who claimed he stole their idea and by the co-founder who was later squeezed out of his business.
I'm on honesttrailers.fandom.com. Experience the world's smartest film about the world's dullest premise.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking that right before the trailer was released, which was one of the best trailers I'd seen. Because I remember it had. Do you remember the trailer? We can play the audio because it uses Radiohead's Creep, like a version of it, which is really well done. Up until that point, like everyone was like, "Oh, a film about Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg, who was not a super inspiring figure, let's be honest." But I feel like then you had the cast and then you had the score in the film and people start getting sold. And obviously, Aaron Sorkin was pretty established back then.
I need to do something substantial in order to get the attention of the clubs.
Why?
Because they're exclusive and fun, and they lead to a better life.
People want to go on the internet and check out their friends, so why not build a website that offers that friends, pictures, profiles?
I'm talking about taking the entire social experience of college and putting it online.
The site got 2,200 hits within 2 hours.
22,000.
There's parts of the score that make it feel like a kind of like a Cold War spy movie, and then you mix in the kind of like the more electro. Like if you had scored that film differently, or had some, like if you had John Williams do the score for that film's probably not as good. The music in it sets the tone in so many of the scenes. Before the scenes even start, the music in it already kind of sets that for you. And if you'd done it by, like if it was all just like strings or like something like that, it'd be a completely different film.
I just found another one. Journey to Harvard, where no one lets you forget it's Harvard. And meet Mark Zuckerberg, a star student with the mind of a calculator and the heart of a troll.
Oh my God.
And the wardrobe of a comfy hobo.
Well, I think it's, you know what, it's interesting when you look, when you watch the start of the film, and this is like I couldn't help think about this, having watched it, with the, the world that like social media has become with like trolling and stuff like that, especially with like Twitter and different things. The fact that the movie starts with him making this face mash thing, which is him being this kind of like almost incel arsehole who gets dumped by a girl and his reaction.
When I was a kid, I definitely went on those types of websites and thought it was funny. They even mentioned ratemypoo.com in that film, and I definitely thought that was the funniest, cleverest website ever.
But you didn't make a website where you rated pictures of girls in school.
Yeah, but I still would have thought that was funny.
I don't think. I don't
so
think.
I don't want to pretend that I'm above that.
I don't think that's his most inexcusable offense. In real life, he did create that website. That's true, but actually it had men as well. It wasn't just women.
Right. Okay.
So
I wonder what was 99% women on it though.
Did you actually? No, but you couldn't have used face mask because that was a Harvard.
Oh no, on hotnot.com. Sorry.
Oh no, no, I'm talking about like his website, the one that he created for Harvard.
From my limited knowledge of hotnot.com, it was 99.4% female.
We do not condone sexism, misogyny, and racism in this podcast.
I'm just saying, we all move on from these things.
No. As in, like as of right now. Yeah. But I'm just trying to give the actual picture behind what happened, because that is one we can go around and talk about, like, what is the one thing that we loved about the film and one of the things that we kind of didn't like. Because I would say my favorite thing is definitely the score, 100%.
Yeah.
And some of the performances, like I love Justin Timberlake and Andrew Garfield in that film. Like I feel like these two were my highlights.
I think it's probably Justin Timberlake's best performance in a film, full stop, because he's so good at playing Sean Parker.
Yes.
Like the best bit is at the end where he's caught with the underage students and stuff doing coke in the bedroom, and then he's on the phone and the police. He's like, "Hey man, do you think it was like Eduardo like called the cops?" Or like it goes full circle to like everybody, like Eduardo saying he was paranoid. Like it's I think Timberlake is very good in that film, surprisingly so.
And I think that kind of also speaks to the casting, because you're right, it was probably like a casting decision where they could tell that, hey, he can play the part very well. Obviously, he doesn't have like a super, like a massive range or anything, but he's just very, very well cast. And then Andrew Garfield as well. I love the editing. I thought it was incredible. Now, the bit that I didn't like, but that's probably because I am way too close in that world. For like full disclosure, like I do work in the social strategy industry, so I do have to talk about freaking Facebook and Twitter and and Meta now all the time.
Yes, the metaverse.
The metaverse. So I did feel like there were so many things that weren't portrayed accurately, and obviously I know that we were watching a film. I just thought there were so many things that could have been portrayed from a different perspective to have told the different stories. So when we think about the opening scene and the final scene, which basically it all, like, according to Aaron Sorkin, it all came down to Erica Albright, that the reason that Zuckerberg started the website and Facebook was because he got, he got dumped. He got dumped, and then journey to, like get sued and all of that, and actually build an empire for the sake of, getting a friend request accepted by her. I just thought that the fact that from a character development standpoint, to kind of reduce his entire motivation to a heartbreak or like a girl, I just don't think like it tells the actual story of Zuckerberg, which is much more sinister in my opinion.
Weirdly, do you know what? I didn't to go kind of straight to the final scene in comparison to the opening. I didn't see him sending her a Facebook request as him being like, okay, finally the end of the journey now, I can add her on Facebook. I definitely didn't. I don't feel pity for him. I don't think I feel pity for him, but it's Rashida Jones says to him, "Is like, you're not an asshole. You're just you're just trying really hard to be." Mm-hmm. And the only other person who basically speaks to him like that in the film, really at the start, is Erica. She says to him, "I want you to know that like you're gonna go through life thinking girls don't like you because you're a tech nerd. Girls won't like you because you're a fucking asshole," or something like that is what she tells him. And then it gets to the end of the film and he's told, "Well, you're not an asshole. You're just trying to be." And it's kind of that, it's almost him trying to realize, well, why am I trying to be an asshole? And then maybe it's more so like him trying to redeem himself. I don't necessarily, to me, it didn't feel like it was like this was the culmination of his thing of like he's gotten to a point where he's built this empire and he can add her on Facebook. It was, his first step in trying to redeem himself for the shitty things he's done.
But I also feel like it comes, like, I just feel like at this point, because he was so in the actual business side of things and he was halfway through building his, social world, he would be well past, like, small guy problems. That is, making amends in a way, if that's what.
And I guess
he's still human, though.
Well, he's still human, and I guess that's where it comes into the whole thing of that this is a film, and there's like dramatic liberties taken with it.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm having an issue with, is that we're not talking about a character or like a person that, you know, died. The conversation around The Crown, for example, we're not talking about someone who died, you know, 50 years ago. We're talking about someone who was very much at his prime when that film came out and is still very much out there doing his thing.
I can't remember, but I feel like Zuckerberg's impression of the film wasn't necessarily positive. Like when the film came out, I don't think
he said
he
like his feelings.
Yeah,
and I'm not.
And
yeah,
I think everybody just went, "Who fucking cares?"
Right. I'm not trying to defend him. I just think I get that Aaron Sorkin was trying to find. He's very much like a villain hero kind of guy, and I think in the film we can tell that Zuckerberg is the villain, and then Eduardo is kind of not the hero, but the character we're supposed to have some sympathy for.
I thought the Winklevoss twins were the bigger villain, because I always perceived them to just get paid an awful lot of money for doing nothing. Like in real life, that's the way I read what happened.
Yeah, but they're not villains for doing that. They're just like money suckers.
Yeah.
But that's when I say villain, I mean someone who's driven by something that's actually out of hatred and, you know, like domination.
Well, do you not remember the scene after the boat race when the Winklevoss twins decide to gut him? And they really hate him at that point, and they're going to gut him for all he's got.
Yeah, because in their head...
Or one of them does.
Because in their head, they felt like he had actually stolen their idea.
But like Mark said, if you invent a chair, you can't stop other people from making a chair and making money out of it. And he just got to market faster.
Yeah,
and that's what America's built on, basically, that type of attitude.
Yeah, I'm not trying to defend him. I'm just saying, like, I don't see them as villains for just trying to make money out of him, because
well, my personal view is it's a bit like an ambulance chaser situation. And I just thought, they shouldn't get money for doing nothing. Like, it's just really lame.
The reason I'm bringing this up about his character in particular is because I've done a lot of reading on Zuckerberg because I've had to because of my work. And he's the kind of guy that was never motivated by money. He wasn't motivated by women.
He says that completely through the film, doesn't he? I feel like he mentions that in the film, that he's not driven by money.
Yeah. The point I'm trying to
Eduardo
make,
actually says that on his behalf a couple of times, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He was with Priscilla the whole time, like this, and Erica Albright didn't even exist as a character. So like, I just don't like the fact that the opening scene, the final scene, goes back to a person that's not even that was not even in the picture in the first place. I would have much rather seen a moral, sinister, evil side of, you know, Zuckerberg that comes from the place of I want to dominate the world, because that was his intention. Like his biggest role model is Augustus Caesar. Like he comes from a place of I want to dominate. I want to be in every home.
But isn't that what every like business school teaches its students? Is like that's what you've got to be like in business.
Yeah, but not everyone acts on it. I mean, this guy went out of his way to just literally be in everyone's home. And he has succeeded. Like, Facebook has 3 billion users right now. I would have rather seen that story as opposed to, like giving a non-existent character airtime to make it about, him being, I don't know. But that's just my take, just because we're thinking about the opening and the final scene, and they both have these two characters in a way, Erica is not actually in the final scene, but she's...
But do you remember the section where Sean Parker talks about why he really built Napster?
Yeah.
And isn't the film really about the fact that these huge companies get built for actually quite bonkers, minute reasons? So it might be to get the girl or to get someone back. And those kind of feelings can lead to you developing like really big businesses because they're such visceral feelings.
Absolutely. And I think that was definitely Sean Parker's intent. I just don't think that was Zuckerberg's like motivation at all. Like the whole girl angle. For me, that didn't work.
I think that comes across in how they're both played as well.
Yeah.
Like Eisenberg's performance doesn't feel like it's driven, but like that's why I say it doesn't really feel like at the end of it doesn't feel like he did it for her. His performance doesn't feel like he's driven by women or like, you know, money and stuff like that. What did
you make of him refreshing the page again?
I think that's his chronic need to be liked.
Everyone's done that at least once before, is like hoped for a response and, you know, waited by the door for a letter or refreshed their email or whatever. Like everyone's been there, like wanting to be liked by someone. It was very relatable, I thought, that scene.
Okay. No, I mean, it is. It 100% is. And I think it's maybe trying to make him a little bit more relatable in that way, but also it kind of feels like making a Facebook and stuff like that throughout the film kind of almost feels a little bit like him just wanting to be liked and accepted by people. The whole Sean Parker thing is clearly just like, this is, oh my God, he likes me. He really likes me. And Eduardo kind of sees through that. And obviously Eduardo in the film, like if we're not even thinking of these
he likes me or he gets me. Because I think that's what he saw in Sean Parker. He saw some sort of mentor.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't, I don't see Zuckerberg, like in the film anyway, whoever is being portrayed in the film, as someone who wants to be liked. I mean, he goes out of his way to go on LiveJournal and call like his ex-girlfriend a bitch. Then he makes this horrific website that he knows like is gonna have horrible consequences, but he does it because he can, in air quotes. Then in the lawyer, you know, like scenes, like he's being a total douchebag in front of everyone. He tells everyone off. I don't think he wants to be. He's interested in being right rather than liked. I feel like, you know, you remember that moment where he was, I think Andrew Garfield, like Eduardo said something like 16 million, and then Jesse Eisenberg, he grabbed his pen. He was like, let me do the math on that.
Oh, yeah.
So but that almost accentuated the maturity thing. So you've got all these lawyers in the room who are basically the adults, and then the children are Eduardo and
fighting,
and that was what the film was about largely, isn't it? It's about what happens when you get a lot of power and a lot of money and you're really young.
Yeah, for me, that's the story. Like, these are the bits that I like. For me, it's about power, it's about corruption, it's about like self-obsession, like vanity. Like,
we should probably disclose that you and me met working for a company backed by Sean Parker.
Is that true?
Yeah, he was one of the main investors of that company we worked at.
So this is why Sophie thinks Justin Timberlake's performance was so good.
There you go. Yeah, that's full disclosure.
And also we should say it was a massive failure. So we can't vouch for Sean's investing prowess.
Sean Parker has like a very track record. But I also, because I looked up what Sean Parker thought of Justin Timberlake's performance, and he basically said, it's a great performance of someone that sounds and looks like nothing like me.
Do you know what though? You know when like we were joking earlier about, you know, who's going to play Elon Musk? I bet Sean Parker would secretly be pretty happy that Justin Timberlake.
I would say he's not. Yeah. I would say as soon as he found out Justin Timberlake was cast to play him, I'd say he had a fucking field day.
Yeah, he said. It
doesn't get better than that.
He said that. I mean, don't know what he's up to these days, but he still has like because he was out. I think he was pushed out of the board after he was found for cocaine possession.
He's still a shareholder.
He still has,
I think he still has that whatever 6%.
Oh, because no one in Silicon Valley ever does coke.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but
thank God they made a show of it.
Yeah, but he did coke with a 17-year-old and got caught doing it. So with coke in his hands.
He was never charged though, but he was like even the PR story was Zuckerberg was like, "You're out, man." Like, it's like, I can't have that on my. Like, he was like ruthless, Zuckerberg. He was like, "You're out. Like, I can't have this on me." And I mean, that's more of a trivia thing, but going back to Eduardo, because for those of you who don't know, the film is based very loosely on an actual book called The Accidental Billionaires. And that book was co-written by Eduardo. So this is why it's quite sympathetic towards him. Because what I read, like what actually happened when he went to New York for an internship and supposedly he was trying to find advertisers. Quit on his first day, yeah. What he actually did, like in real life, is that he went there, he started a side hustle and created like a rival company for Facebook. With a spin that it was supposed to be for job professionals, so like a version of LinkedIn, let's say. And then he started advertising that company on Facebook for free without Zuckerberg's permission. Zuckerberg found out. He was like, "You're out. Well, you're out." And that's when, then...
He had the shares diluted.
Yeah, exactly. And that was the beginning of the end of the relationship.
So what we're saying is that there's no virtuous characters in this film.
Yeah, there's nobody supposed to be really likable in the film. There's not many films
which you can really enjoy where you also know all the characters are horrible.
Which is a very Sorkin.
Which is quite cool.
It's a very Aaron Sorkin thing. I feel like every single character of his are just like...
Is The West Wing like that?
Oh yeah, very much so. Yeah. and Molly's Game, being the Ricardos, like a recent one, like the Trial of Chicago 7, with the exception of
his genius is like he holds you with the rhythmic, snappy dialogue, and it's just such a pleasure to let that wash over you because they talk in that film the way you dream you could talk in real life. You know, quippy comebacks, really witty.
Do you know what? There were certain scenes here that in my head I was kind of like, it's like The West Wing. It's also like scenes in Gilmore Girls. You know, when the mum and the daughter just go back and forth really quickly, and you're just like, good Lord, it's actually like watching Gilmore Girls.
Yeah.
I'm sure Aaron Sorkin would hate me saying that, but you know, it's true.
But there's something satisfying about that, isn't there?
Yeah, and that's I mean, if you haven't seen The West Wing, you would love The West Wing because it is very like The West Wing is literally every scene is fucking like it's like all people walking down corridors and really snappy like one-liners with people walking in and out like.
And I do think that in this film it really works, but it's because David Fincher's execution is just so brilliant. There are a couple of films like, again, A Trial of Chicago 7 and Being the Ricardos, the latest films that he has actually directed as well, Aaron Sorkin, that have been impeccably bad because he doesn't know how to direct.
Isn't he directing To Kill a Mockingbird in the West End right now? Isn't that him?
Yes, that's him.
I really didn't enjoy it.
I was going to say, you saw it and you didn't like it, yeah.
I didn't enjoy it so
With
much.
Matthew Modine's about to take over as Atticus Finch.
I watched it and I thought that's probably what I would have come up with if I had to do a thing. It was just very what you expect. There was nothing special. Yeah. It wasn't clever.
He's very much like that as a director. Obviously, he's done some incredible works in the context of writing, but when it comes to directing, which I feel like it requires much more creativity, synchronization. Maybe he doesn't work well with people. I'm not quite sure, but he's not like a visionary from a creative standpoint. Like Being the Ricardos was awful. And The Trial of Chicago 7 was like, just, basic at best. It had a couple of good lines.
Yeah, I enjoyed it, but The Trial of Chicago 7 very much kind of like it's carried by the actors in it, and it's very much just feels like
a courtroom like drama, so you don't need to do anything special. But
you just point the camera.
Yeah, exactly. Go. Going back to the very final scene, because we have Rashida Jones' character tell him that bit about you're just trying to be an asshole, but then she said something around how I can't remember the exact phrase about the myth and how he's like basically almost like the myth is bigger than the myth creator in a way. I can't remember the exact phrase because I feel like that's kind of the point where Aaron Sorkin is trying to come full circle and be like, what you just watched, which is like a pretty ridiculous tale, is full of shit because you just watched a dramatized story in the first place. I feel like that I saw that as a kind of a meta disclaimer, as in like, probably what we saw, we all know that it's an exaggeration, but grounding it to the defense lawyer and Zuckerberg, which I really enjoyed as they're a nice pairing together. Nice parenting. I just feel like it was almost like breaking the fourth wall. I saw that exchange between them
throughout the film. He in those scenes with the lawyers, he doesn't listen to any of his lawyers or the other ones, and he like makes sarcastic comments, and he's looking at the window, and like they are like, are you paying attention? He's like, you have 4% of my attention and stuff like that.
I actually really like that line.
Yeah, it's a great line.
Yeah.
And Rashida Jones is then the only one that he actually listens to.
Yeah.
But she's one of the few that just tells him straight, because one of the first things she says to him in that scene was like, well, of course you're going to settle. And he's almost like, what do you mean I'm going to settle? Of course I will. She's like, no, you don't. It's like, she does the whole spiel about how like her whole thing is jury selection. And she's like, there's a couple of different things that all I have to do is point to them and you've already lost. And it's kind of...
The film is bookended by two ladies telling him the truth.
Exactly. Yeah. And then he goes back to Erica, who is the other woman who like told to him straight.
So the line was, creation myths need a devil. So I really like that line because it was almost like a callback that we just saw like the origin story of a villain in a way. But actually it's not that true that you're a villain. Like it's much more complicated than that, at least at the time.
My personal view of Mark Zuckerberg in real life isn't really like that, because I just think, God, imagine if Steve Bannon had created Facebook or anybody else. It could be a lot worse. I think
it could be a lot worse, but it could be a lot better.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the minute, because I used to naively think when I was a kid, like you connect the whole world together and we'll have world peace. You know, how could we want to bomb somewhere where you had Facebook friends? And obviously the opposite has happened. And the networking of the human race has led to all these bizarre cliques, and it's brought together all these mad people and made them feel like there's way more of them than there actually are.
I think the interesting thing about it is that like you shouldn't really feel bad for anyone in that film because they're all billionaires who have a few less like the Winklevosses and Eduardo Severance, like they're billionaires who have a few less billions because of what happened. Like the thing is, like
the Winklevoss have 60 million more than they would have had.
Yeah,
exactly.
If they hadn't bothered taking him to court,
and it wouldn't have mattered because their dad had all that money. It's interesting. Like, what does the social network look like now? 10 years on from when the film was made, if you make it now with this other 10 years of
I don't think
of what we know
really
Facebook
moved
has.
on very much since then. It's
it's
really static.
but the world has, and its place in the world has, and that's more of an interesting thing. And that's why, like, I know you say that, like, you know, if somebody else had created Facebook. Problem is that Facebook, as you say, hasn't really changed, but the world has definitely changed in a huge way. And Zuckerberg's responses to that have been kind of archaic.
Well, what Zuckerberg would say to you is, you know, this is just a shop window, and the customers create the content, and he's just providing the means with which to communicate it.
Yeah, but then you are responsible for the platform you create.
From but
content moderation
and then
standpoint.
then the moderation stuff is like, well, with whose viewpoint is he going to moderate it? You know, it's really difficult.
Well, you can start with the law. Like if you go on Facebook and you see child porn, then that means the law is not being, you know, like a basic stuff that
I guess what I'm talking about is politics more than anything else, which is the most difficult thing to deal with, and conspiracy theories and fake news.
Right.
Very difficult to police.
Right.
But I guess the thing is, in Facebook will have an issue, and it won't necessarily happen in the States, but if the EU and stuff like that bring in regulations that Facebook needs to start regulating itself, it is going to have problems. Then you're going to see like Meta is going to move all their offices out of Europe and stuff, because as soon as that happens, then they will have to face up to the facts of it can't just be like, it's like a shop window, but oh shit, this is my shop window, so I'm responsible for what's in my shop
Facebook
window.
has famously never had to abide by the same law as publishers in this country. So, you know, if the Guardian published a story that's untrue, or the BBC run stuff that's untrue, they could perhaps lose their broadcasting license. Whereas these social networks,
doesn't have a broadcasting license.
They can just say, I'm sorry, where's the shop window? You know, we're not in charge of the content. And they've managed, because of power and corruption, to basically retain that license to basically do whatever they want.
And so that's why I say, I feel like the social network came out, whatever it was, 2010. And so that's after 6 years of Facebook. Facebook is now almost, like Facebook, it kept, 2004, I think, in the film is when it comes out. So Facebook is 18 years old now.
Yeah.
The first 6 years of Facebook, and then the preceding, 10 are actually, like, a lot has happened in the preceding 10 that will be quite interesting to hear about. Like all the court cases, like Zuckerberg getting hauled up in front of the Supreme Court and stuff like that, and having to testify. And
having a think about what the sequel to the social network would look like is incredible. It's what's interesting about the film in particular is that they actually had a really big issue with, like they were quite concerned about getting sued because, again, Zuckerberg was very much alive. So there is a reason they focused the majority of the film around the litigations, because these are public knowledge. Therefore, like they could actually, kind of.
But they don't even know, like even some of the stuff you don't even know, because even at the end when we have him sitting there clicking refresh on his computer and you get the little blurbs of what's happened, but nobody knows what both settlements are unless they've said it in public. They're very much working privately. on clearly they're very much working on what information is in the public knowledge that we can actually talk about, and then what stuff can we fictionalize as well to kind of enhance the story.
Which is why I feel like if there were to be like a social network too, it would have to be around Cambridge Analytica and like reinstating Trump. Oh, no, actually banning Trump. Sorry, that's Elon Musk reinstating Trump. like banning Musk, and like what was the behind the scenes drama behind those decisions, like things that you can actually kind of cross fact check to an extent, because like the Supreme Court scenes, I can see Aaron Sorkin writing an insane
fact checking, something Facebook doesn't really like to do.
Yeah, definitely. But very quickly, because the film ended with some on-screen text that kind of talked reference where everyone was at. So the part about Facebook having 500 million users in 207 countries, and it was valued at over 25 billion at the time. Now, I did the math.
Oh, here we go.
Facebook now has 2.96 billion monthly active users.
Couple more.
As of the third quarter.
I wonder if Zuckerberg can do that maths for us, you know?
Yeah, that is true. And its net worth as of 2022 is at 245 billion.
What's Zuckerberg's net worth now?
I'm not sure, but I know it was probably halved over the last year because their stock was dropped quite a lot because of stock markets. His metaverse that the stakeholders are not quite buying it, so his shares keep going down. But it's probably something ridiculous like I don't know 70 billion or something.
Yeah, because I looked at Eduardo Severance. I looked at his. I think it was like Forbes page, and he's like worth $6.6 billion or something like that.
He's in Singapore somewhere.
Less. Yeah, he's in Singapore as like an investor and stuff like that. Yeah.
So zero sympathy for the devil.
Well, it's kind of zero sympathy for anybody.
Anybody,
you're not really supposed to be sympathetic for any of them because at the end of the day, they're all multi-billionaires who, especially if it is based on a book written by Eduardo Severin, or at least partially based on that, there is going to be some, glamorization and pointing towards him as being the good guy in the story, which he very much is. Like Andrew Garfield, even though I love his performance in it, and we talked about, his ending scene where he tells them to lawyer up and stuff like that. I think it's great when he freaks out in the office and goes to hit Justin Timberlake and stuff and says, I like hanging out with you because you make me feel like make me feel tough. That's my favorite line in the film. I love that. I think that's brilliant. But yeah, it's a very different film when the book is partially or the film is partially based on a book written by him where he's clearly going to make himself out to be the good guy.
Yeah. Cool. I think we solved the ending again, you guys. Anything else to add?
History's written by the victors, but there's no winner in this scenario, so it really doesn't matter, I would say.
Drops. We will be back in 2 weeks with our Christmas special episode. With one and only Love Actually.
I think for this one, we should have to bring each other an audio clip present.
Oh, that's cute.
So everyone has to come to the podcast with like a clip from a film as a present.
I love that idea. That is so smart, Simon. I love it. Okay, cool. We'll do that. And we're going to play live, right?
Yeah.
Okay, live reactions as well. Okay, cool. I'm excited.
Sounds good.
Nice. If you like this episode, maybe send it to someone who's not on Facebook or who doesn't like Facebook very much. I'm sure they'll love the episode. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Bye.
Did you like it? Did you like that?
Did I like it? I loved it.
I had no idea you could milk a cat.
I have nipples, Greg. Could you milk me?
Good morning!
Morning. Good morning.
Oh, and in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.